What's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Shirt Bourbon Society, the show that teaches you the world of whiskey.
Whether you're new to whiskey or a seasoned drinker, this is your place to sip, learn, and share the stories behind the bottles.
Today, we're going to be talking about the Heart Cut, a UK company who does something a little different. We even have a whole bunch of pocket pours. Let's do some drinking. So we're in season 2. It has been a year since we started this journey, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
This has become way more than what we originally thought, which I'm so happy about, and so glad that you guys have been with us on this journey, and so many of you have subscribed and viewed our videos. So because this is the start of season 2, we're doing something a little different. We are going across the pond virtually to meet the owner, the co-owner, of the Heart Cut, which is an independent bottling company. They have a cool story, some really unique products that they're sourcing from all over the world. But without further ado, let's introduce you to the co-owner and find out their story and how they got started.
My name is Georgie. I'm the co-founder of The Heart Cut. We're a UK-based independent bottler that specializes in curating a range of whiskies, single casks, small batches from distilleries all over the world. I founded The Heart Cut with my husband Fabrizio, and we've been going for about 2 years. But I've actually been working in whiskey for about 15 years or so. Like many people, I started out as a bartender in Edinburgh before then moving straight into whiskey behind the bar at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, the SMWS, which I know you also have a chapter of in the US. And while I was there for a couple of years, I became their global whiskey ambassador. So traveling around the world, I spent a significant amount of time in the US actually during that period, talking to people about the society. And it was while I was there that I actually did a second degree in distilling, biochemistry and chemical engineering of distillation. I then, after the society, moved to Diageo, where I became their global luxury whiskey ambassador, launching Mortlach for like the first time, because I think it's been launched or relaunched 3 times since then. But I was there for about 3 years and then moved to Bacardi for the last 8 years, where I was their global whiskey ambassador, looking after their single malts. So Aberfeldy, Craig Ellicky, Altmore, Royal Brackler, and the Devon created their global education program for their whiskies, and then was their global head of advocacy, looking after all of the craft spirits at Bacardi. So kind of done my time within whiskey. It's literally been from, I even did my undergrad thesis dissertation on whiskey and regional identity at 21. So, from that age to now, it's been, everything. My husband comes from a drinks background as well, having worked at various drinks agencies and with different brands. And the Heart Cut was, I suppose, a culmination of all of that experience and a desire to build the whiskey company that we and everyone we speak to had always wished had existed.
Thanks, Georgie. That's awesome. You both have such a great background in distilling, and just what a story to tell for Heart Cut. So as we maybe looking at Heart Cut, was there a specific point in time or a tasting that showed that there was enough interest in this or a gap to make you want to make sure that you were on the road to have something that is unique enough to be able to have a demand enough for this, for Heart Cut?
So there was no one single turning point that made Fabrizio and I go, this is it. But it's been a desire of ours from the very beginning. I always thought, at the very beginning of my corporate career, wouldn't it be cool if I could learn everything possible from the big giants and then do my own thing? And the Heart Cut sort of came to us in waves. We launched the Heart Cut in September of 2023, but we'd been working on it 2 years prior to that. And I suppose more than anything, it was born out of both passion and frustration in one. As you can tell, we're huge, and as you will tell as we go through this meeting, we are hugely passionate about whiskey, right? And I love independent bottlings. That's how I started my whiskey career at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. But it was also born out of a frustration. I think, like you, I've seen whiskey change quite considerably in the last 15 years. Whiskey is now not just drunk across the world, but it's also made across the world by distillers who are zigging where Scotch zag, who aren't trying to make a whiskey that tastes of somewhere else, but they're trying to make a whiskey that can stand tall on like a stage from a quality perspective, but it also tastes of home to them, something unique to their provenance and landscape. And all of these distillers across the world have the most incredible, passionate stories. But also with this growth, and I think you'll know a bit of this too, comes a sense of overwhelmingness. With so much choice, where do you go next? And that's why I love your YouTube channel, because you're doing the same as what we do, right? You're saying, cool, we really love New York. This is why we love it. This is why you should go out and try it. And so we built the Heart Cut to essentially inspire a more explorative drinking experience and help guide people through this new whiskey landscape. And the frustration point came because even though I absolutely love independent bottlings and I love the freedom and flexibility that it gives you to show the world how you see whiskey, right? Being an independent bottler is essentially like saying to someone, put on my rose tinted glasses and see the world with my viewpoint for a minute, right? But it really frustrated me for the most part. Most independent bottlers were just focusing on one nation or one or two nations rather than showcasing actually the full whiskey landscape today. Most of them were speaking to or assuming that people know as much as possible. So speaking to, I suppose, the enthusiasts rather than just like the everyday whiskey drinker. And most of them had like jargon at the fore and no storytelling, no spark, no why the whiskey tastes the way it does or why it tastes like that landscape or the story behind the why not, what if mentality of the distillers. And so we built the Heart Cut as not just a passion project, but like a business that both my husband and I work on full time, but to reflect this new whiskey landscape and to whet the appetite of the whiskey drinker of today who wants to explore rather than whiskey drinker of yesteryear.
So tell us a little bit more about what you guys have done so far.
To date, we've bottled 20 single casks, 19 single casks and one small batch. The small batch was like 519 bottles, so really actually was small. So 20 releases from 17 distilleries across 11 countries, showcasing the actual breadth of style, of flavor, and geography of whiskey today. Only buying our casks directly from our distilleries, never from a broker. And I don't think there's another person or another independent bottler that can wholeheartedly say that. Maybe Lost Lantern. I love what Lost Lantern do. But only ever directly from those distilleries. And it means that with every single cask we bring out, it's a relationship between us and that distillery, which is super cool.
So Georgie, let's go ahead and pull on that thread just a little bit more. So what are those guiding principles that you all use at Heart Cut to determine what distilleries you're wanting to work with?
When we started the Heart Cut, we drew up a wouldn't it be cool if list. A list of distilleries that we adore. Because essentially this is the Heart Cut is us saying, we love this distillery. We picked a single cask out with them because we think this distillery should also be on your radar, right? So we drew up this wouldn't it be cool if list. And that was just distilleries that we just admire and whose whiskies we drink at home, right? Because we love whiskey. Um, and that sort of was our first guiding principle. And actually, we've been really lucky. We've been able to partner with all but one from that list. Since then, I think it was like 11 or 12 distilleries on that list to start with. And also we drew up that list because before we founded the Heart Cut, someone told us, they were like, great concept, love the idea of the business, but it's totally flawed. Distilleries don't sell to independent bottlers. They only sell to brokers. That won't work. Your model of only buying your casks and your distilleries won't work. And we were like, okay, well, we'll try anyway. We'll see whether to or not. So we ended up calling some of our friends who own distilleries, again, people from that list. Because over our careers, we've been able to build up a little black book of distilleries that we love and distillery owners. And we called up a few and we were like, look, we're not looking to buy a cask, but we just want to run our business idea by you. And you tell us whether you would consider selling us a cask of whiskey. But we're not looking to buy one right now. But you just let us know. And every single time distillers were like, no, we're selling you a cask based off of this concept. We love it 100%. So that was our first guiding piece. And then after that, since we've grown, we've asked our friends, asked people like yourselves, asked bartenders, which distilleries are you excited by? Whose whiskey should be drinking at the moment? We go to whiskey festivals. So we're consistently trying, tasting, exploring, going deeper into distillery stories. And we're looking at it, as I said before, from a geography perspective as well. So we're also looking around the world and going, which countries have we not represented yet that we really want to add a distillery to? Or what styles of flavor are there out there that we haven't represented yet? One thing I really love at the moment is the concept of smoke and how there's sort of the geography of smoky whiskey and how distillers across the world are making a whiskey smoky based on what it's like pragmatic for them to smoke, right? Because Islay whiskey, peat, well, that makes sense because there is peat in Islay. But we've worked with Thompson Distillery in New Zealand. It was, I've got it here, this single cask that we've just brought out. And they use Manuka wood because it's native to them because of New Zealand Manuka, right? So they've smoked their whiskey using Manuka, which is super cool. And you can't do that anywhere else, through to our first partner distillery, Stauning, on the west coast of Denmark, who once a year harvest heather from around the distillery. And they put heather on the kiln during the malting, which gives this beautiful, like, aromatic, smoky quality to the whiskey. We're about to launch a single cask from Westland, smoked using local Washington state peat, so the same as their Fulham releases. So that's what really excites me. So, as I said, we're looking at how we fill in the blanks, how we're representing the whole world of whiskey, and genuinely just who are we excited by at the moment.
Thanks, Georgie, for that. So let's transition a little bit to talk a little bit about how you came up with that whole name of Heart Cut. So we all know that Heart Cut is the prized distillation process. It's that essence of flavor. So what does that metaphor mean for you all when you're looking at Heart Cut and your brand's ethos?
Do you know the name The Heart Cut came to me one day while I was dusting? I always feel like whenever you're doing like a meaningless task where your mind you allow your mind to wander, that's when you get some of your like spark moments. And I love the term the Heart Cut because, as you said, it is that prized part of the distillation run, and it differs from distillery to distillery. But when we built the Heart Cut, coming from an advocacy background and a storytelling background, the Heart Cut is us basically saying that we're putting heart and passion back into independent bottling. I looked out to the independent bottling landscape and I just felt that there was a lack of stories and there was a lack of love and there was a lot of buying from brokers and a lot of refill ex-bourbon casks from the same distilleries that you kept seeing time and time again. And so being the Heart Cut, we're doing it for for the love of whiskey, I suppose. And we like to play on that. So we always talk about why each cask made the cut, right? And then we love a beer and a whiskey pairing. I know you call it a Boilermaker in the US. When I lived in Scotland, we call it a half and a half. So we call that a half and heart, So we're having a little bit of fun playing on that term. But yeah, it basically goes to us putting care and love back into independent bottling again.
I wish I really did like beer because I think a Boilermaker does sound like a cool concept, but I'm just not a beer drinker if it's not brown and mostly rye, and I normally don't drink it. Can you tell us a little bit about the trends and the flavor profiles and the landscape of how whiskey is changing? I mean, we talked about the smoked, but dive into that just a little bit more for us.
What I'm seeing from distillers around the world is, as I said before, that they're trying to make a whiskey that has the quality of whiskey from, the big five countries. And when I say the big five, I mean, Scotland, America, Ireland, Canada, and Japan. But whiskey that tastes of home to them. And I think because they are coming from non-traditional whiskey countries, the bar for quality and for flavor is actually much higher because they're coming to the fore from somewhere that you don't expect whiskey to come from. I suppose for me, there are like three things, no, four things that I'm really excited about seeing within whiskey at the moment, like four big trends that I suppose has kind of guided a little bit of our selection at the Heart Cut. The first one, as I said before, is the geography of smoke and how we're seeing the terroir of smoke coming through and, a sense of place coming really through from smoky whiskies and how distillers smoke their grain, or if they're using smoky casks instead of smoking their grain. The second one is the use of fresh wine casks. I'm really intrigued by whiskies that are distilleries that are being set up in wine producing cultures and how whiskey maker and winemaker are working side by side and how they're having this really lovely interplay between the casks. And one of our casks we've done is with Westward. It was matured in a new American oak cask, but when I was speaking to Miles, he was talking about the relationship that he has with all of the Pinot Noir producers around him and how they're using the red wine casks from there. We've released two single casks from Starward in Melbourne. And Starward get all of their ingredients from within a day's drive of the distillery, which includes fresh red wine casks in the Barossa Valley. And when I say fresh, I mean they were literally filled with wine one day, steam cleaned just to get out any residuals, and then filled with whiskey the next. And there's a different vibrancy and intensity of flavor that comes from these casks. So that's another piece that I'm really intrigued by. The third one is the rise of American single malts. I love American single malt. I heard a fact the other day that there's now over 250 producers of American single malt in America, which is more than single malt producers in Scotland. But obviously, as I said, we've bottled something from Westward, we've bottled a few casks from St. George, and we've got a cask coming out in 3 weeks or so from Westland. So American single malt, I'm really, really intrigued by. And then the fourth area is European rye whiskies. Again, pragmatism, there's lots of rye within Europe. And it's really interesting seeing distilleries like Corry in Finland, like Stork Club in Germany, Downing in Denmark, like Fielden in the UK, all use rye, and they're making a European style of rye, not an American style of rye. So those are four areas that personally I am really intrigued by at the moment.
So, Georgie, appreciate that perspective. I know our viewers do as well. So, what challenges and delights come from sourcing whiskeys from all over the world versus new areas of whiskey versus established ones? And are there any issues that you're experiencing with some of what we're seeing around the world right now, and specifically here in America with tariffs?
I'll be honest with you. It would probably be a lot easier for us as a business model if we were just buying from one nation. Obviously, we're next to Scotland, so Scotland. And if we were buying just from brokers, so middlemen, and if we were buying said casks from lists of Excel sheets, which gets sent out by brokers saying, we have this, we have that, buy this, buy that. I received one literally 3 days ago from someone with a list of casks, a list of distillery names, a list of ages, a list of cask types, and then a figure, how much it's going to cost, right? It would be so much easier. And there's no joy in that. And that's doing what everyone else is doing. It's the same distilleries time after time. It's focusing on one nation. There's no romanticism. And I know from working with big companies for so long, I know the power of a single cask and the ability for it to tell a story, but in a different guise. And to all of these newer producers across the world who need the spotlight, who deserve the spotlight, you know, they're the people that for me, they're the ones I'm excited about. They're the ones whose story we want to tell. So shipping our casks from New Zealand, as our latest two were, from Australia, from Portland and Oregon to the UK, yeah, that is a lot more difficult. And there's a lot more of a logistic chain behind that. Now, I caveat this because my husband always laughs when I say, yes, that's a lot more difficult for us. Because I'll be honest with you, we are a two-person team and we very much divide and conquer and we play to our strengths. And my strengths are very much marketing and advocacy and distillery liaison, and his strengths are um, finance and logistics and spreadsheets. So when I say we logistically do that, I mean he does all of that. So whenever people often ask me about like, yeah, the challenges with working with distilleries around the world and having this different approach to independent bottling. And I'm like, well, it is a lot more difficult. And he always laughs because he's like, how would you know that? You don't do that side. And I'm like, I know that. I do know it. I'm very busy doing everything else. It's a lovely relationship actually being able to divide and conquer like that and just trust that the other person is doing what you need them to do. And you have an overview, but you don't need to know 100%. So, yeah, there are definitely more challenges. But I think now, 2 years in, we're learning. Every day is a learning, a school day, right? But we're learning more and more about timelines and how long things take and how long actually things take compared to how long you think they're going to take. And when you're shipping casks in from New Zealand, you've got to allow like 2.5, 3 months for the whiskey to get to you before you can then bottle it, before you can then start promoting it, before you can start, getting people to taste it. So there is a lot more forward planning. We can't just click our fingers and go, we've got a shortfall. We need to bottle a cask instantly and push it out there, right? And also, that's not what whiskey is there for. So yeah, there are definitely more challenges, but they're worth it because of the quality of the whiskey we're bottling. With our whiskey background and having done our time, we wouldn't be putting our names next to any whiskey which isn't of an exceeding quality. And I said to you before that I think the bar is raised higher for these newer producers. I think the bar's raised higher for us as well, because we're the new kid coming onto the block in an independent bottling landscape where there are household names that have been around for generations and generations, right? And so as a new kid trying to break through, the bar is immediately higher. So yeah, there's definitely challenges there, but they're challenges that we meet with gusto
Yeah.
and with opportunity. And yeah, you're right. There are tariffs coming in from the US. I mean, we've bottled one, two, three, four single casks in the US to date. We've partnered with a few with St. George Spirits in San Francisco and with Westward. And then we've got whiskey coming out from Westland, from New Riff, and then Kings County. So, we're keeping a close eye on what's going on in that area. But we obviously our sights are set on the whole world.
So, Georgie, this is our last question before we get into the tasting. And just want to know, are there any particular regions or things that you're really looking forward to coming up? We talked about the list, and we want to know, What's on the new list?
What is the new list? The new list grows all the time because we're consistently trying, tasting, speaking to people. Um, so a couple of things we have coming out that I'm really excited by. We have, and also to caveat that as well, we see each cask as an opportunity to be a little bit of an education point. We see each cask as an opportunity to tell a different part of the whiskey story. So, as I said before, whenever we're looking at that list, we're consistently looking at what style, flavor, geography box are we trying to tick here? Okay. Um, so we have coming out, as I said, in like 3 weeks' time, a single cask from Westland that's smoked using local Washington State peat, which I'm so excited by because one, it's another American single malt, which I love. And secondly, it's an opportunity to showcase the different locality to peat. And I've been a big fan of Westland for so long. So that one is really, really awesome. We have a 3 barrel blend coming out from New Riff in the new year. It will be our first bourbon. We haven't done a bourbon yet, which is crazy. Yeah, we've done one rye, 2 experimental malts with our St. George releases, and then an American single malt. So it'll be our first bourbon. And I love New Riff. I think their whiskey is just absolutely delicious. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And then the only other one I can tell you about is we have a single cask coming out from Boann in Ireland. Boann is a newer distillery. They make a single pot still Irish whiskey. We've not done a single pot still yet. But what's super cool about them is that not only are they independent and family owned by the Cooney family, but they're really championing like the true identity to single pot still. When we think of single pot still Irish whiskey, we know that it's, you know, a minimum of 95% mix of malted and unmalted barley. And then it can be up to 5% of any other grain. Now, a lot of the Irish distillers, they just make their single pot still with 100% malted to unmalted and usually like a 50-50 split. But Boann is looking back through heritage Irish pot still recipes and championing that 5% of other grain. So they're actually using in their mash bill other things like oats, like wheat, like rye. And we have a cask coming out from them in March, which is incredible. So that's another story I'm really excited by.
Georgie, I have to really admit that I am excited about that new Riff cask that you're going to be able to bottle. Definitely want to get my hands on one of those bottles. That being said, it's time to get into some tasting. So, what's first for us?
The first whiskey that you're going to try from us is our release number 11, which is from JJ Corry. It's actually this bottle that I have just here. I love JJ Corry. It was the first Irish whiskey that we bottled. JJ Corry is owned by an amazing woman called Louise. And just like us, she doesn't make whiskey, but she's brought the lost art of whiskey bonding back to life within Ireland. So she has the most beautiful, idyllic stoneware house in County Clare. You go there, you fly into Shannon, you go there, and literally it's this stoneware house surrounded by like emerald green fields. You walk into this warehouse and she's got collections of casks from distilleries all over Ireland where she's worked with those distilleries. And what's super cool is on the end of each of those casks, she has a flavor because she calls her warehouse her library of flavors. So as you walk in, not only are you mesmerized by the smell of the warehouse. I mean, the smell of a whiskey warehouse, is just exceptional. But you see words like freshly cut grass, fresh pear, pineapple, smoky bacon, pure joy, hazelnuts, chestnuts, all of these things. And she treats all of her casks like ingredients, taking like a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from there to create the most incredible whiskeys. So release number 11 is our first and only to date small batch. It's a blend of 4 different casks from her warehouse. And I flew over to Ireland to blend this with her. but it's not whole casks, it's section of casks. And there's two things I love about this. One is that the four whiskies represent the full Irish whiskey landscape today. So there's two single pot stills, one single blend, two single pot stills, one single grain, one single malt. And two of them are matured across Oloroso and PX casks. And the other two one's finished in Oloroso and one is finished in a Pajarette cask, which is a fortified wine cask from a wine producer in Malaga who make like a really thick, rich, decadent style of dessert wine similar to PX, Pedro Jimenez. And the brief when I was working with Louise on this whiskey was sunshine in a glass. Wanted to make something that was just like bright, light, delicious, something for everybody. It sits at 48% ABV. All of our whiskeys are non-chill filtered and no caramel coloring. And it's one of just 519 bottles.
Okay, so I'm excited about this one because the imagery that you gave about their facility, I'm super stoked. So, as always, let's talk about it.
Okay, so 96 proof. Looking at the color, I'm going to go with a little bit lighter, so pale gold.
I'd say, yeah. Mm-hmm. Legs
Actually,
are definitely there.
Legs are definitely there. Shorter legs.
Yeah.
That smells so good.
Mm-hmm.
I get some ripe apricots. I get a little bit of lemon.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a sourness. You get that vanilla though.
Yeah. And there's almost a sweetness to it as well.
Yeah.
Ooh, that ripe apricot is just forefront on the tasting notes.
But then the slides into lemon.
It does.
Mm-hmm. There's a touch of an almond.
Yeah, I was just going to say a nutty. There is a nutty flavor, and you're right. I think it is the almond.
Mm-hmm. And the vanilla is a little more deep than just like your average bourbon vanilla. It's like a Danish.
Yeah, I was going to say like a really sweet vanilla, like an icing vanilla type flavor.
Yeah, that's good.
What a great start.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sad that our little pocket pours, that's all we have. So we're going to have to cross the pond and pick up a few extra bottles. Let's see what Georgie's got up for us next. We'll be right back.
So the second one that you're going to try is our single cask from Nc'nean Distillery. And it was actually our first Scottish release number 12, which is really cool that number 12 was the first Scotch for us. And our first Scotch, we knew it had to be from somewhere special. Nc'nean is again female owned by an amazing woman called Annabelle Thomas. And the distillery is B Corp. They make organic single malt using organic barley around the distillery. And I really love Nc'nean. I've got the bottle here. And it's like really stunning, with like the hillside on the side. I really love Nc'nean because they make a super bright, light, sprightly, fresh, zesty spirit. Usually matured in a mixture of ex-bourbon and STRs, so like red wine casks. But this was originally matured in ex-bourbon and then it was finished in a Madeira cask. Now, the cool story about this cask is that we'd been working with Matt Hastings, the blender at Nc'nean, for a while to try and find the right cask. We tried some casks and they were really delicious. And we were like, let's just sleep on it. Let's keep talking. You know, these are really good, but let's kind of keep the conversation open. And I went for dinner in Edinburgh at a restaurant where they had a Nc'nean and it was finished in a Madeira cask. And I tried it and I immediately text Matt and I was like, Matt, that is what we want. That was exceptional. And he was like, yep, cool, great. One problem, I just don't have anything like that right now, but just give me 7 months. And almost like 7 months to the day later, he emailed us just saying, I have the one. Literally, I have the one. And that never happens. It's happened twice to us actually with this and with the Fielden that you're going to try. But it was like, this is the cask. And he sent us a sample and we were like, oh my God, it is the cask. Because with that 7 month finish in a Madeira cask, this whiskey just tastes of lemon drizzle cake mixed with rum raisin ice cream. And it is phenomenal. It's one of 391 bottles. It's bottled at 54% ABV. A lot of people say with our whiskeys, though, because we bring our whiskeys down. So this isn't cask strength. We've put it down to the strength at which we think the flavor and the alcohol just are great together. A lot of people say that our whiskey doesn't taste the way that it reads, because of that interplay and because we reduce it down a bit. But this is phenomenal, and it's a whiskey it's for anyone, just like the JJ Corry. It's not a divisive flavor. It's a whiskey that can bring a smile to anyone's face.
Wow.
Wow is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I do have to agree with you though on bringing it down to where the flavor and the actual alcohol are right. I have some people who we've talked to before, and they're all about high proof, and that's all well and good. But when you lose the flavor and all you taste is that ethanol, the flavor is the whole point of this, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool that you found the Maduro cask, and then they aged that one for another 7 months to find the right one for you. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Looking forward to trying this.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about it.
So Nc'nean, 108 proof. Color's darker than our last one, so rich gold. I would say a little bit longer on the legs.
Yeah.
Oh. So there's a lot of like a rum raisin
Oh,
there on
yeah.
the nose.
Yeah, dried fruit for sure. Maybe some raspberry.
Maybe a little bit of like a herby lemon, like lemon balm.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
So definitely a scotch.
Definitely a scotch.
Get that rum and that raisin there.
Peach yogurt.
Really? So I get the lemon balm. I do get a little bit of peach, but peach yogurt. Okay.
There's a slight like that soury yogurt kind of vibe that I'm getting from it.
Yeah, there is a little bit of the sourness to it. I get a lot of that rum raisin.
Oh yeah.
And a creaminess to the rum raisin.
Oh yeah, for sure. That only gets better after every drink.
It does. I was just going to say that third drink was outstanding. Georgie, great choice on number 2. I can't wait to see what you have for number 3.
Yep. Be right back.
Okay, so the third whiskey that we're going to try is our single cask from Westward. And I've spoken a little bit about this one so far, so hopefully you're really excited to try this. Westward is obviously in Portland, in Oregon. And what I love about this distillery is how a lot of the distillers and Miles, the master distiller, all came from a brewing background. So they're bringing a brewer's mindset into making whiskey, and they're building flavor in different ways. And they're very much front-loading flavor, bringing in brewer's yeast, but also just different ways of making whiskey. Still the same way, but different nuances. This cask, it is the most vibrant tropical fruit whiskey that I've ever tried before. This for me, and it's our lead tasting note, is just juicy passion fruit in a bottle. It is incredible. The vibrancy of it is amazing. It's bottled in bond, which is really cool. Like, American single malt bottled in bond, one of only 396 bottles. Yeah, and it's great. It's amazing.
So Westward, which I'm pretty sure you were just there.
I was. I actually just got back from there a couple weeks ago. Actually took my 2 brothers and my sister out for a tour of Westward and was able to try some of their products. My brother's actually one of their members, so he has plenty of bottles. We were able to try them, but I was really excited knowing that we had this sample to be able to try when we got back.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Let's give it a taste.
So, Georgie, you said bottled in bond, so we know it's 100 proof. Looking at the color, a little bit even darker than our last one, so burnt amber.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think the legs are actually a little bit shorter there
Mm-hmm.
than the last one. Get a little bit of that passion fruit like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I get a lot of that, like a bitter orange.
Yeah, there's definitely a bitter orange. You know, so it reminds me of the panettone, the Italian bread.
Yeah.
And there's like a little bit of an almond, there's the orange, there's some dried fruit, a little yeastiness to it.
Oh, yeah.
That passion,
panettone
yeah.
and the passion fruit
Yeah.
are both right there.
Yeah, there's no nose of passion fruit whatsoever, but it is definitely there in taste.
See, I got a little bit of the passion fruit on the nose, a little bit. And see, I got more orange on the nose than I did in the flavor profile, but there is hints of it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of that almond as well with the panettone.
Yeah. A good overall complex flavor.
It does. It has complex flavor. Looking forward to an episode specifically on Westward.
Yes.
But also, I know in December we're going to try Westward again for the Flaviar Advent calendar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that too.
So, Georgie, let's see what's up next.
Oh, we'll be right back.
Okay, whiskey number 4 is from St. George Spirits. Now, St. George was on our wouldn't it be cool if list from the get-go. I visited the distillery twice before founding the Heart Cart, and oh my God, if St. George is a distillery I would love to own. I love its experimental attitude, and I love how their approach to making whiskey is almost like an eau de vie to barley in a way. They obviously have their Bula, the American single malt, that's partially matured or finished in umeshu, Californian plum wine casks. This is really cool. So with number 8, we can actually call it a whiskey in Europe. So we called this whiskey an experimental malt. It's 100% malted barley made at its base, but it's a beer whiskey. So number 8 started out life as a heavily hopped, sage-infused IPA from a neighboring, very historic brewery. The distillery took that beer in, they distilled it, and then they matured it in a fourth fill cask, a cask that previously contained a bourbon, a reposado tequila, a Californian ale, and then that whiskey. So on paper, it is a total complex oddity, one of a kind. It sounds crazy, but the texture, the intensity of flavor on this is exceptional. It's one of only 244 bottles. And I love this cask because I love the story that it can tell about the parallels between brewing and distilling. But I also love its viscosity and its like thick apricot jam on brioche character.
Yeah. 4 casks?
4 casks. Experimental. And what did she call it? A complex oddity?
Yeah.
All right. So the last time we had an oddity was that weird bottle of Yellowstone you brought. So I'm all about it. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So what do we say? 108 proof, I think it is.
Yeah.
So again, burnt amber. A little bit longer on the legs.
Yep. Oh,
Okay, so there's the complex oddity there on the nose.
floral, malty, chamomile.
Yes. I do get a little bit of that hops.
Yeah.
I don't think I get apricot, but there is like a stone fruit.
Yes, yeah. Oh, oh,
So you talked about it being from a brew maker, and so I get a lot of that beer hops, chamomile, but then I do get that apricot.
yeah. That's wild.
It is.
It almost still has that like slightly carbonated beer feel on the tongue.
I don't know if I can, it might not be true, but this may be one of the more complex flavor profiles we've ever had.
Oh yeah, this is incredible. I think we need to do some more research into St. George spirits.
Yeah.
This is
or a trip.
or a trip. Yeah, this is incredible. Oh, you're already done. Wow.
I think it was a great pick, Georgie. Looking forward to what you have for number 5.
Oh, of course. We'll be right back.
The fifth whiskey that you've got is from East London Liquor Co. here in London. A super cool urban distillery founded by an amazing guy called Alex Wolpert. It is a London rye whiskey made up of 55% malted rye, 45% malted barley. Now, what's really cool about East London is they're proudly East London through and through. And again, just like with St. George, they've got also really great relationships with local breweries around them. So this rye was actually fully matured in a Hackney Brewery chocolate stout cask, a cask that originally contained their rye. They then emptied it, gave it to their neighboring brewery, Hackney Brewery, to fill with their chocolate stout for a couple of months. They then emptied it and then sent it back to the distillery. And when we were sitting around this table at like 6 p.m. with Alex, Sam, their blender, my husband and I were trying all of these different cask samples. When we landed on this one, we were like, this is the one. It tastes to me like a gooey chocolate brownie fresh out of the oven. It is a little bit more, it's different. It's not like your typical American Ryes. That chocolate note really comes through. I think it's just so interesting. And this was actually sold out in the UK. You can still find a few bottles here and there, but it's pretty much sold out.
All right, so we all know, as a rye drinker, I am stoked for this. And as a fat kid, chocolate rye just sounds incredible. So let's get into it.
So 99.8 proof, so almost right at 100 proof. You know what? It's right around that burnt amber color again.
Yeah.
I think the legs are a little shorter there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's your chocolate.
Oh, the chocolate's so much there. Oh, it smells like a brownie.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I've ever smelled any type of whiskey with that much chocolate on the nose. You do get a little bit of hint of the spice with the rye.
Yeah, but also some black cherry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that dark chocolate is so there.
It is. And you get the rye.
Yeah, but not a super spicy rye.
No, it isn't. A little bit of a nuttiness too,
Yeah,
like an almond.
yeah,
But I do think you find the cherries as well.
yeah. That's really good.
That is really good. So this was number 5, Georgie. And I'm kind of disappointed. We're on to our final one. So as we finish things off, what do you have for number 6?
We'll be right back.
So the final whiskey that you're going to try is release number 16, and this is from Fielden, another rye whiskey from the UK, because I know that you have a penchant for rye. And this whiskey was actually made at a distillery called the Oxford Artisan Distillery. Now, it is 100% rye, made up of 75% land race rye, unmalted heritage grains from around Oxford, and then 25% floor malted rye at England's oldest maltsters. The whiskey was originally matured in new American oak casks, three actually, three new American oak 200-litre barrels. And after 2 years, they were brought together into one big 600-litre, wait for it, 45-year-old Excelera Oloroso sherry cask from a bodega in San Luca de Barrameda, the very coastal tip of the Sherry Triangle. So not only are we talking here like a super old Solera Oloroso cask, but one where in the bodega you have the Atlantic winds blowing through the windows, right? So what I love about this whiskey is that you have that spice in the rye, you have a caramel, almost like caramelized nut note from the Oloroso, but then you have like a salinity and a minerality, like an actual salted caramel character coming from the fact that the cask was from San Luca. It is big, it is sweet, it is intense. It is unlike any whiskey I've ever tried before. It was a big cask. It was one of 1,108 bottles, and it's bottled at 56.6%. But when you try it, I, I don't think you would taste that strength. It is, yeah, it's cool.
So the last one, and I'm truly sad about this because this was so, so good. The curation of this collection has been out of this world.
Oh.
And what makes it even worse is like we can't even get these bottles here unless we have, as the kids call it, the plug in Europe to be able to pick up some things up, which I hopefully we can acquire some things.
Yeah, and we'll ask Georgie that question about how we can get some when we're done with this.
Very, very true. But all right, let's get into this last tasting.
So 112 proof, so a little higher on the proof, and much darker.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that burnished copper, long legs.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. There's a sweetness, complex, maple, caramel, honey,
Banana.
yeah.
And there's a vanilla, but it's not just your typical vanilla. It's like vanilla ice cream.
So creaminess to it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It does have that salted caramel.
it
There
does.
is a mineraliness to it.
And it's not on the front. It's kind of in the mid
Yeah.
portion of the taste.
This is wild.
It is.
It's so good.
And 100% rye, so you should be in your happy place.
Oh. But it doesn't hit like a hard rye either.
Mm-mm.
It's so smooth. Oh my God.
So you get that rye on the finish. It's a longer finish. You do get, so you get that stone fruit. It's like, it's not even ripe apricots. It's kind of like an overripe apricot.
Yeah.
You get that maple flavoring. Maybe, is there a little bit of like a playful cola there as well?
Yeah, I think it's that caramely sweetness, but then you have a smokiness to it. So like a smoked salt caramel.
Nice. I think this is a great way to finish.
I think so too. Georgie, you guys did such an amazing job with this one. This is, I need that cask. I need all 1,000 bottles.
Yeah.
So
I'm continuing to look forward to the different casks that you find. I'm looking forward to that new riff. But please tell us if our viewers want one of your bottles, how do they go about getting it?
So we're very lucky. Our whiskies are stocked by the Whiskey Exchange and Master of Malts, and both of those companies ship worldwide. We at the Heart Cut, we sell direct through our website because in the UK we don't have a three-tier system. So we sell direct. So if you're in the UK or if you've got friends in the UK, they can go to theheartcut.com and literally the next day the whiskey will arrive at their door. So step number one, find a friend in the UK, get them to buy a bottle. And then whenever they come visit you, give it to them. Step two is have a look on the Whiskey Exchange or Master of Malt, and they sort out all the customs and everything like that. So they're wonderful with that area. Our whiskies through our website are available in the UK and then 6 other European markets. No US just yet, but let's see, we're a startup. So, we got to take things step by step.
Georgie, once again, thank you so much for sending us these pocket pours. Everyone was unique and everyone was so delicious. We're gonna have to talk about getting this on auto ship to us because this was just incredible. If you guys like this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, this is the Black Shirt Bourbon Society. Drink safe, y'all.